Hey guys, welcome back to Empire Sand. My name's Steve, and this is my LS tractor. It's an XR4155. It's a hydrostat tractor. And a quick backstory real quick. This is about the turbo on this tractor. This tractor has 1,020, I think 22 hours on it now. And we've replaced a ton of stuff on this. And now, while plowing snow the other day, the turbo went out. We had a snowstorm coming in Indiana here. So I got the generator up by the house. It's a PTO driven generator. Just getting ready for the storm. And the storm came through. We didn't lose power, so I didn't have to use the generator. But I went ahead and put the rear blade on and started plowing some snow. And about 20 minutes into plowing snow, it started running rough, like a miss. And then all of a sudden I got a lot of oil burning out of the exhaust. I mean, just smoke rolling. And the throttle started to rev, it started to run away on me. And what it was the turbo. The turbocharger on this LS is around $1,700 after it's shipped to your house. But as you'll see, the turbo I have on this was $140 off of Amazon, and it's working just fine. So watch the video if you're interested and you have to replace your turbo, because this is a way cheaper deal. And if you have a little knowledge of fabrication, everything will work out just fine. For those of you who don't know, when your turbo bearings go out, what happens is you get a bunch of play in this shaft. And your impellers rub your housing. And what happens is oil that's fed into this cartridge here through the top starts coming out around the seal that's gone. And then as it spins up, it throws the oil into your engine, and diesels run off of, well, a diesel runs off diesel, so it can also burn oil. So it'll start sucking oil out of your engine and putting it into the intake. Then your tractor runs on that, and you shut the tractor off, but it's sucking the oil. So the tractor continues to run and starts to rev up higher and higher until it destroys itself. When I was thinking about getting trying to find a cartridge, I tried to find a cartridge and I didn't have any luck. The turbo is used on a couple different European vehicles. One vehicle I found matched perfect to this, and the exhaust side had the manifold built onto the exhaust housing. So therefore it could not be used. And another reason why I wouldn't want to reuse the intake side housing would be because, as you can see in there, when the turbo let loose, it took a lot of material off these aluminum blades. So if I was to buy a new cartridge for it and put it in there, you would still have not the right size of clearance between the two, and it probably would not compress as well. And you can see the oil that was pouring out of this thing. So one thing I might have to do on the one I put on the tractor is I may have to change this here. It's what actuates your wastegate based on boost going into the intake. So I don't know what that one's rated for, and I'll probably have to switch it out for this one. But that's why I went the route I did. And besides the cost, that's absolutely crazy. Okay, what I got here is a piece of 1/4-inch plate. It's just what I had laying around. I already had a hole in it, so it made it easy to get the center hole. I'm going to have to work on it just a little bit more to get it a little bit bigger. That's where we're starting from. This is the exhaust flange off the new turbo. And here's the housing off the original LS turbo. As you can see, the hole didn't match up in the first place. It was smaller, so I may not have to make it any bigger to match this. But what we're looking at here is the bottom holes on this flange almost line up down here. So when I cut this out, if I extend these openings, these holes out, oblong, or just leave this piece where it goes along and comes around, I'll be able to go all the way through from the exhaust manifold, the bolts it has bolts coming out of, or studs coming out of the exhaust manifold, will go all the way through this new piece, and the bottom 2 bolts I'll be able to bolt up just fine. I'll bolt right through there. The top's going to be a little different. The stud coming out of the exhaust manifold is up here, but I think I can extend this up to match that, drill a hole through there, and I'll just put 2 studs going through this plate out the bottom, and I'll plug weld them in so they stay on there, so I can use. You'll see when it's done. It's a little bit, if you don't know what you're doing with fabrication, because I don't, but it takes a little bit of fabrication, but we're going to get this done. We're going to make this mount up and make it work. Okay, so here's the bracket I end up coming up with. I'm going to have to elongate the holes in the turbo just a little bit, so the bolts from the manifold of the tractor can go through the bottom, and that's going to be pretty easy. The top one, I'm going to have to trim a little bit of the top of that off there, that flange on the turbo, and then there's a rib on the back side here. Whoop. There's a rib on the back side I'm going to have to grind down so I can get a bolt on that. And I just plug welded 2 bolts through the holes I drilled to screw the flange down on the new turbo. And that's basically, after I do some clearancing there through this hole where I can tighten a bolt from the exhaust manifold on the tractor, this part's done, and the next part will be making an adapter or just making a flange that I can come over here on the tractor, and I'll probably end up just chopping this one off and welding a new flange to this, and this should be fine. The return drain tube should be fine. I might have to get a different threaded banjo, I'm not sure yet, I haven't checked, but everything else should be pretty close to line up. I mean, you have a bit of wiggle room with the intake tube and the air cleaner tube. You even have some wiggle room up here with how much you can pull this out to give the distance that I had to come out for this adapter flange, but it's coming along. Okay, so now that we have this flange, I fitted up on there, the bolts go through, I can put nuts on them. I know it's a little goofy looking, but it just adapts this turbo. And this turbo, by the way, I think is standard thread, fine threads. ASC fine threads, I believe. So now we're doing the exhaust side. So I went ahead and pulled the housing for the DPF off. I'm going to end up, looks like it was leaking through here anyway when it was not sealing. On my exhaust side, I just traced the exhaust gasket onto a piece of 1/4 inch steel, cut it out. You don't have to be perfect. I just did I cut it out with a plasma and took a die grinder around it, and I left some more meat in different places to give it some more strength. I'm going to weld exhaust pipe to the back side of this and adapt it to the exhaust pipe going up to the EGR, or not EGR, but diesel particulate filter. But when you're cutting this out, I mean, you can leave a little extra here and there. I left enough room to get in here to get these bolts on the back side, enough room for the wastegate to actuate. And that's what we got going so far, and that's how I'm going to adapt it to the exhaust coming out. Everything else lines up other than the bolts on the bottom for the oil return off the turbo. The feed line, I think the banjo fitting will have to be a standard thread. I believe this is metric straight threads, and I'll probably have to find some bolts. But the return tube is the same flange size, same gasket, so everything should work out pretty good. All right, guys, here we go. Using the stock return off the turbo, the feed line, I just had to straighten this out a little bit and this out a little bit. Reaches right up there. The banjo threads are a little different. I gotta find another banjo for it, and I gotta lube it before we do anything. All you gotta do now is get some exhaust tubing, cut some pieces to bridge this gap to come over this pipe. You do have a little bit of play in this pipe where you can spin it before you tighten it down. It's not keyed up here, it's just two flanges. And there's enough room with the sensors in the back that you can spin this to get it where you want it. I want it to come out, I tilted it, I clocked it up a little bit so it's more in line with the exhaust coming straight out of the turbo, and the wastegate's down at the bottom. So I'll just pie cut some exhaust. I'll bridge this gap, weld it up. I'm going to change the oil. I'm going to add oil to this and make sure it's rotated and everything's lubricated. And look, lines right up. And I haven't seen how close the intake is yet, but I'm pretty sure it'll be pretty close too. So to do the exhaust, all I did was I lined everything up and I tacked this piece on here just to hold it where it needs to be in space. And then I'll take some old exhaust flange I have, or new pieces of cut off I've got, and I'll pie cut some pieces, and we'll make a flange for this, and we'll mold these together, and then it should go right back on and be good. Alright guys, I know I didn't show a ton of this, but here it is. This is the $140 turbo for a, whatever the name brand of this engine in there, I can't remember, Toshiba, something like that. Toshiba, some bullshit. Anyway, this turbo is listed for that engine, 3-cylinder, but it's not the same as the LS tractors. So I figured, fuck it, why not? So here's what we got going on. We made the adapter plate in the back. We got an adapter here going to the exhaust. Oh, she hot. We got a wastegate function. Oil feed went right to it. The return went right down into the tube where it should be. And it revs up. It holds RPM, but I haven't put a load on it yet. But if you want to save, I think the cheapest I found one on LS, any of the dealers, was $1,400 for their turbo. And that wasn't even the upgrade turbo. The upgrade turbo was like $1,000. It's going to be about $1,700 when you get it. So I can replace this now that I have the brackets made. Let's say this goes out in like 2 years, 3 years. I'll buy another $140 one, have it shipped from China, throw it on here, and still I could probably replace this 10 to 15 times before I would pay the cost of what one would be from LS. So if you want to save some money and you're cheap as shit like me and you know how to weld, you know how to fabricate, cut some metal. I used a plasma cutter, didn't have to. I used a die grinder. I used my welder. I used a side cut or a cut-off grinder and a little bit of welding. That was it. Now I gotta let this thing run and burn some of the oil out of the exhaust because it sucked a lot of oil into the intake and tried to run away on me. But hope somebody else may have the guts to do this, but I'm not paying $1,800 for another turbo that went out within, shoot, how many hours on this thing? 1,021 hours. Turbo went out. All right, guys, hope somebody finds this helpful. Take it easy.